So our topic for today is entitled The Battle of Armageddon. Actually, it's what is at stake for you in the Battle of Armageddon? That's the actual title. And so we're going to take a look at Revelation chapter 16. So if you would turn there with me, Revelation chapter 16 talks about when the plagues are being poured out upon earth. 7 last plagues. That is not the key focus of our study. We're going to be focusing on a particular plague, or, by the way, who's pouring out the plagues? Does anyone know who is pouring out the plagues? Who is designated to pour out the plagues upon planet Earth? And this is a question, this is an interactive session, so please interact.
Angels.
And this is, yes, thank you, Guru. So angels, the 7 angels are pouring out these plagues upon planet Earth, okay? If you don't know this, you need to be familiar with that. I suggest you read Revelation, especially the last few chapters after chapter 14, so that you have a grasp of what is taking place and what to expect. Now, we're going to be looking at Revelation chapter 16 and verse, let's start with verse 12. Okay, let's have someone read verse 12 through 14. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 through 14. Can we have a volunteer read that for us?
I'll read that.
Okay.
Then the 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up, so that the way of the kings from the east might be prepared. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs coming out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are spirits of demons, performing signs which go out to the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty.
Okay. So, thank you. We're going to continue reading the rest of it later. But what do you see happening here? The 6th angel, so each of these angels pour out a plague, right? And then we see that the 6th angel pours out his plague where? Where does he pour his vial?
On the great river of Euphrates.
On the great river Euphrates. Okay, so as a result of pouring that plague, what happens to the river?
The waters.
The Bible tells us the water of that river dried up.
Yeah.
Okay, it dried up, and the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Okay, interesting. So you see, angel pours the bowl, the river Euphrates dries up. Now, let's pause for a moment. Is this symbolic or literal? The river Euphrates being dried up when the angel poured out his vial. Do you think this is literal? This is speaking of a literal or a symbolic description of what's happening?
Symbolic.
Okay, symbolic. Okay. So how many of you guys believe it's symbolic? Okay. How many of you guys think it's literal? How many of you guys are with me? Okay. Let me ask you this. Where else in the Bible was the river Euphrates dried up? Do you guys know of
Book of
another
Daniel?
instance? Well, in the book of Daniel, yes, when? Dean says Babylon. Okay, good. Right. So when Babylon was, specifically when? When was the Euphrates River dried up? It specifically happened. What event?
When the Babylon was fallen.
When Babylon fell, exactly.
Yeah.
When Babylon fell, the river Euphrates was the means by which it was dried up in order for the Medes and Persians to divert the waters. They dried up the river, made a way for them as they gained access under the city to conquer them. So it says in the sixth angel pouring out the sixth plague, the river Euphrates dries up. Now, in Revelation chapter 17, verse 15, Babylon again is depicted as a woman who sits on the waters. What do waters represent?
People, multitude.
That's
country.
right. That's right, my brother. Waters represents nations, multitudes, and people. Okay? So what does it mean if Babylon sits on the waters? What does it mean when she sits on the waters? Is she sitting on literal people?
It means like he's ruled them, he's controlled them, I mean, like he's a president. It means he's in charge.
She, right?
Oh, yeah, she's in charge. Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, she's okay. But what does it mean when she's sitting on them? Yeah, it's kind of like about her being in charge, but what does that mean? Sitting represents what? Sitting represents
Rule, king.
It represents power.
Power.
Right?
Yes.
So the people are supporting her. Thus, she has that power and authority. Okay, the people are supporting her, and that's what it means when she sits on the many waters. She sits on the people, so to speak, not literally, but it means that the people are supporting her authority, supporting her power. Okay, this is where her power comes from. The waters represents people that support her, right? So when the waters dry up, what does that mean?
She loses support.
She loses support. Exactly. She loses the support. There's going to come a time where the people that once supported her will no longer support her. In other words, they will change their minds about her. And this occurs when God pours out the vial for judgment upon the wicked. This happens before the final destruction of the wicked. Okay, and verse 13. Jeff read this, and it says, and I saw three, what?
Unclean spirit.
Unclean spirits, and what are they depicted as?
Frog.
They're depicted as frogs. Okay, there's these three frogs that come out of the mouth of what?
Dragon.
The dragon,
Beast.
the beast,
and the false prophet.
and the false prophet. Okay, so can you get a visual picture in your mind? The beast, the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. Out of their mouths, each of their mouths comes out a frog. A frog comes out of each of their mouths. And these frogs represent? What do they represent?
Spirits. Evil spirits.
Unclean spirits. That's right, unclean spirits. So we see these frogs coming out of the mouth of the beast, the dragon, the false prophet. Is this literal or symbolic?
Symbolic.
It's, again, symbolic, right? You're not going to see on televised, worldwide CNN news these three characters and frogs coming out of their mouths, right? You're not going to see that, although it's depicted as such in Revelation. This is clearly a symbolic depiction, right? And it tells us what these frogs represent. They are spirits of devils working miracles. Why are they working miracles? Why are they working miracles?
To deceive people.
To deceive people. Why? What's the purpose of deceiving them? This is Babylon's last-ditch effort to maintain support from all the world. To do that, deceive everyone, to show them that, hey, we have the power. We have the power of God, manifested, supernatural power. Look at us. We are of God, so you must support us, right? And Satan's last-ditch attempt, he will try to impersonate Christ himself. He will look like him. He will do miracles like him. He will even talk like him for the purpose to rally and gather the people against God's remnant. So, whenever we study Bible prophecy, sometimes we focus too much on this stuff. We focus on the beast. We focus on what's happening with the beast. We focus on the false prophet. We focus on what Satan is doing. And, you know, those things are important. It's important to know them, but at the same time, it's not important. Do you know what I'm saying? It's important to know them, but knowing these things, will it save you? Will knowing these things save you?
No.
No. Okay. Will knowing Bible prophecy save you?
No.
No. All it is head knowledge, right? And this is the danger that we face, because we think we know, just because we know Bible prophecy, that somehow translates to our salvation. But it doesn't. It's important to know these things, but it's far more important to know what to do in light of these things. Are you following what I'm saying? Yeah. It is far more important to know what to do as a result of knowing these things. Okay, how to prepare. And that's what I want to glean from our study today. I want to glean not just simple prophecy knowledge, and we go home and say, hey, we had a very good prophecy study, a lot of good information. That's not what I want us to go home with tonight. By God's grace, I want us to go home with, what is the practical thing that I need to get from this that can be applied to my life, that'll change my life to be ready for this? Okay? And so, what do you think is the most important thing that we need to know about this plague? Okay. Revelation 16:16. Someone read that for us, please. Revelation 16:16. We see the beast, the dragon, the false prophet, they are all working with the spirits of devils, working miracles for the purpose of gathering everyone of the whole world to a battle. What battle is this? Revelation 16, verse 16 tells us what battle this is. Can
And they
someone read
gathered-
that?
They gathered them together to the place called in Hebrew Armageddon.
Armageddon. Armageddon. This is the battle of Armageddon. This is the final battle. Okay. The final battle between good and evil, between Satan and Christ. It comes to a head here in this battle. So some of us are probably thinking this is happening far into the future. We don't have to worry about this now. This is not important. But what do you think we need to do? What do you think is at stake in this battle of Armageddon? It's actually much more relevant to you than you think. Okay? And so what is relevant about the Battle of Armageddon? What is at stake for us in the Battle of Armageddon? And we don't really see it happening right now, although we see things happening right now. That kind of shows us that Jesus' coming is near. There's still war with Russia and Ukraine. You know what's happening in the news with Israel, right? Things are intensifying. Things are happening more frequently. And battles and wars and rumors of wars is taking place as Jesus spoke of. And this is the final battle. What do we need to do to prepare for this final battle? That is the question. Is there anywhere here that tells us how to prepare for this final battle? And if we look at, some of you guys may have a Bible that shows red letters. You'll see in this sixth angel, the sixth plague, there is red letters where Jesus himself tells us exactly what we must watch out for. And we're not supposed to watch out for the unclean spirits, those frogs. We're not supposed to watch out and put our focus on the false prophet or the beast or the dragon. Jesus is telling us what we need to really put our focus on. Verse 15. Verse 15 in red letters, Jesus says, "Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his" what?
Garments.
Garments, lest he walk what?
Naked.
Naked, and they see his
Shame.
shame. So this is what Jesus is telling us should be the focus in the midst of this great battle that is soon to come upon us. And this battle affects us. And what is at stake? What is at stake? Jesus is saying, he that watcheth and keepeth his garments. That is what is at stake. And so we got to understand what this means. What does Jesus mean that we must watch and keep our garments? Okay, so it is very interesting. You know, in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, did you know that there are, last week we learned about the churches, two of the churches, Ephesus and Smyrna, right? Did you know that, by the way, the garments represent what? What are the garments? What garments is Jesus talking about here when he's saying
A robe of righteousness.
the robe of righteousness? Okay, the robe of righteousness. Are you guys in agreement with that? Robe of righteousness? Okay. What else is the robe of righteousness called? Or what else is the garment called in Revelation? Is it called, it's called robe of righteousness, yes, but what else is it called? Is robes mentioned or garments mentioned in the book of Revelation?
Yes.
Yes, actually, it's mentioned quite a lot, more than we realize. You know, it's interesting. Back to the 7 churches. Listen carefully. Did you know that white raiment, also known as the garment, also known as a robe of righteousness, one and the same. White raiment is mentioned in 2 of the 7 churches. How many of the 7 churches?
You say 2.
2. Okay. There are 2 out of the 7 churches that mention white raiment. What is a white raiment? White garment. Okay. A white robe. Okay. And do you know which 2 churches mention white raiment?
I can remember. I remember the first one church.
The which church?
First one. Ephesians.
Ephesus mentions white raiment.
Isn't that?
No, not Ephesus. Okay, it mentions Jesus wearing white, but it doesn't mention white raiment to the Ephesus church. Okay, the 2 churches that mention white raiment are the Church of Sardis and the Church of Laodicea. Okay, Sardis and Laodicea are the 2 churches that mention white raiment. Okay, now this is very interesting. If do you guys know, let's just make sure you guys know this before I go further. Do you guys know that each of those churches are actually one church, right? It's one church going through the whole period, going through different periods throughout history. It's still God's church, but it's going through different periods in history. Are you following? Does that make sense? Let me know if you're not following. Okay, it's still God's church, but each of those churches, Ephesus, Smyrna, right, Pergamos, Thyatira, all these churches, they represent different eras of history of what the church was going through. Okay, they're still one and the same, you can say, but they are different in the sense that they all were going through different eras of time throughout the timeline. Are you following?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, it's interesting. Sardis and Laodicea are the only 2 churches where white raiment is mentioned. Okay, now if you look at the timeline, what is the order of the churches? You have, from the beginning, you have Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and then Laodicea. Okay, now notice it's interesting that Sardis and Laodicea are like, they are like one church away from each other, because in between there's 3, right? There's Laodicea is the last one. Okay, Philadelphia is the other one, and then Sardis is before Philadelphia. So there's, in order, it's Sardis, Philadelphia, Laodicea. Okay, now if you, Guru is a math professor, okay, if you plot a bell curve, okay, of the last 3 churches, you'll see Sardis was known as the dead church. Okay, it was the dead church, but the next church that comes after Sardis is Philadelphia. Philadelphia was a good church. It was one of the churches that didn't receive a rebuke from Jesus, along with Smyrna. Okay, Philadelphia was the period of time where the Great Awakening, the great spiritual awakening took place, right? Where, we as Adventists were born from that movement of that great spiritual awakening, right? So Philadelphia is like that zenith, or that the pinnacle of spirituality, right? So but it comes from a dead church era, because Sardis was a dead church. Okay, Sardis was a dead church, but then it peaks up, the bell curve goes up to Philadelphia, and then it drops because now the next church is Laodicea. Laodicea spiritual experiences a drop in spirituality. Okay, so it's interesting. The two churches where Jesus mentions white raiment is Sardis, the dead church, before the bell curve, and Laodicea, the church after the bell curve. Okay, so you see that the dead church, Jesus mentions white raiment to them. Okay, and then it goes up and it peaks in Philadelphia. Spirituality peaks, but then when you hit Laodicea, Laodicea drops, and Jesus mentions white raiment again to Laodicea. Now, this is very interesting. Okay, it is almost as if somewhere along the line, Sardis was mentioned, white raiment was mentioned. Okay, white raiment was mentioned, and what Jesus was saying to them is, he was saying, in Revelation chapter 3:3-5, if you turn there, is speaking to Sardis. Jesus says, "I'm coming as a thief," and he says, "Those who have not defiled their garments." Okay, so they have garments and they have not defiled it. "Walk with me in white, for they are worthy." So in other words, the Sardis church has what? Jesus is mentioning that they have what? What did the Sardis church have?
For those we say the church is dead, but for those who are still alive, they have white garment.
Okay, it's not talking about literally dead. It's talking about spiritually dead.
Okay.
Yeah, spiritually dead. But yes, you're right. He's talking about that they have garments, and they have not defiled their garments, and they walk with him in white. So in other words, they are clothed with white garments. Okay, there are those in Sardis that are clothed in white garments. Are you following?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, turn with me to Revelation 3:3-5, so you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay. Revelation 3:3-5, Jesus says, let's have someone read that, so it's not just me talking, because if I'm talking too much, people tend to zone out and they try to become passive mode listening. I don't want that. Okay, so I want you guys to look at Revelation chapter 3:3-5. This is really amazing. What I'm sharing with you right now, probably nobody knows this. Okay, and if you miss it and you don't see the significance of it, you will not get excited about this. Okay, Revelation chapter 3, verse 4 and 5. Someone read that. Revelation 3, verse 4 and 5. This is what Jesus is speaking to the Sardis church, mind you. What does he say to the Sardis church?
You have a few names even in Sardis who have not defiled their garments, and they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. He who overcomes shall be clothed in white garments, and I will not blot out his name from the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Okay, so now get this. This is very interesting. Okay, Jesus says to the Sardis church, there are those, a few names in Sardis, who have not defiled their garments. They are walking with him in white. Okay, and that means they are worthy.
They have not defiled their garments. Okay, so they have garments. They have not defiled them. They are remaining white because they're worthy. And what does Jesus say in verse 5? He that overcometh shall be what?
White, clothed in white garments.
Clothed in white garments. So in other words, if they are clothed in white garment, if somebody is clothed in white garment, it means that they are, number one, they are worthy. And number two, they have overcome. And number three, they have their names in the book of life, remaining in the book of life. So that's what, are you guys following? Based on what this is telling us, this is what it means when you have the white raiment on. When you're clothed in white raiment, it means those things. Okay? It means that you've overcome. You're walking with Jesus. Your name is not blotted out of the book of life. It remains there. Okay? That's what white raiment means. Are you guys following?
Yes.
Yes. Okay? So this is very significant. All right? But now, when we get to Philadelphia, spiritual high, whoo, right? The Advent movement's born, right? 1844. You know, a spiritual awakening all across America, and also it spreads out to the world. That Jesus is coming is near, and there's a huge, you know, spiritual pinnacle on that bell curve. But then you get to Laodicea. And Laodicea is described as what?
Lukewarm.
It's lukewarm, but what else? What's their condition? You remember? You guys don't remember? Okay, let's look. Revelation chapter 3, verse 16. Verse 16 says that they're lukewarm. Jesus wants to spew them out of the mouth. But verse 17, read verse 17, please. Enlighten us in Laodicea's condition.
Because you say I am rich have become wealthy, and have need of nothing, and do not know that you are wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked.
Ah! What are they?
Naked.
They are naked. They are naked.
They lost their garments.
Exactly. Somehow along the way, Sardis church, they had garments that they were not defiling. Okay, they kept it white. But somehow along the way, from Sardis to Philadelphia to Laodicea, somehow along the way, we don't know when exactly, but somehow along the way, they lost their white raiment. And how do we know that? Because they're naked. They are naked. And what does Jesus, knowing that they're naked, what does Jesus offer them? You guys don't remember what he offers them? Verse 18.
Raiment.
Exactly. He offers them white raiment in verse 18. Right? He offers them white raiment, that they may be clothed, and what? That the shame of thy nakedness do not appear. Again, shame is mentioned again. Just like in Revelation chapter 14, when it's talking about keeping your garments, right? That they will not see your shame. Shame is a big thing. Okay, so the Laodicean church, Jesus offers the white raiment because they lost it somehow along the way. He offers the white raiment for what purpose? That the shame of their nakedness will not appear. Okay? So notice the progression. While Sardis is worried about not defiling their garments and trying to keep it white, two churches down, when it comes to Laodicea, they have no white raiment at all. They are naked. And the worst thing is they don't even know it. In other words, if they don't even know it, what does that mean? If they don't know that they're naked, what does that mean?
They have no
'Cause
shame.
They are not aware of their shame. Exactly. They are not aware of their shame. Okay? So this is a very serious problem. And Laodicea Church is the last church that's going to come to face the Battle of Armageddon. Back to Revelation chapter 16, verse 15. What does Jesus say? It's exactly familiar, word for word, to what he said to the Sardis church. He says to the Sardis church, I come as a thief. He says the same thing here, Revelation 16, verse 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Jesus says that again. I come as a thief. And he says, blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Notice the issue in the climax of the Battle of Armageddon. Jesus gives the solemn warning of what exactly is at stake for you and I, that we need to be mindful of and vigilant to keep. It's not about the unclean spirits doing miracles. It's not about what the papacy is doing. It's not about what the false prophet is doing. It's not about all these things that are happening like in the world scheme of things. It's talking about what we must do in preparation of this climactic Battle of Armageddon. The primary issue, the primary focus that Jesus wants us to focus on, he gives the solemn warning of what exactly is at stake and what we need to be mindful of and vigilant to keep. In Revelation 16, verse 15, it's there. Those who are blessed are those who watch and keep their garment. So, notice, Jesus says, keepeth his garments. He says, blessed is he that watches and keepeth his garments. What does that mean? What does that mean? If they have their garments, what does that mean?
You don't lose your righteousness.
Well, what does it mean? Deduce this for me. Like, if they have garments, what does that mean? They're what?
They're clothed.
They're clothed.
Their names are written in the book.
Okay, yes, names are in the book. Yes. But let me. Don't you get the thing in between? Okay, the missing link. If they keep their garments, that means they have what? Who's the last church?
Laodicea.
Laodicea's condition was initially what?
Poor, blind, and naked.
They were naked. They were naked. So there's a problem. They were naked. Where did they get the garments? Where did they get the white raiment?
From Jesus.
Why?
From Jesus, exactly.
Why from Jesus?
They got it from Jesus, right? So they have garments now, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
If they buy.
Okay, so these are among those. So in other words, those who have garments, by Revelation chapter 16, those who have garments, and Jesus is telling them, blessed are those who watch and keep their garments. These are the people who were once Laodicea, who are Laodicea, who were once naked, but they took heed to the counsel of the faithful and true witness, who told him to buy of me gold tried in the fire, white raiment, and eye salve. They heeded Jesus' counsel. These are among those in Laodicea that heeded Jesus' counsel. And because they heeded Jesus' counsel, they, guess what? Are clothed in garments. Okay? Now, Jesus is saying, right, all the way to chapter 16 now, he's telling them, blessed are you if you watch. and you keep your garments that I gave you, Laodicea. Do you see what I'm saying? So by chapter 16, there are those in Laodicea that have that white raiment, that have gratefully received that white raiment from Jesus, and that heeded the call of Jesus. But at the climactic battle at the end of time, the very thing that Jesus gave them, listen to me carefully, the very thing that Jesus gave them, they're at risk of losing again. Are you following?
Yes.
Yes, they're at risk of losing again. That's why Jesus is saying by the sixth plague that's being poured out, as this big climactic battle is mounting, the forces are being polarized between two groups. Jesus is giving this warning. Blessed are those who watch and keep their garments. Right? So, and why does Jesus say it's important that they keep their garments?
Lest he walk naked and they see his
Lest he
shame.
walk naked and they see his shame. Question for you. It says, lest they walk naked and they see his shame. Who's they? Who's they that will see our shame?
No, not see.
No. Who is they? Contextually, who is they?
They that bought.
Those who find out they lost. Those who find that they're naked. All right.
Oh, you're talking about the people that they'll find themselves naked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe. Okay, so it could be that. But
those who have the message, they know the message, like what God is saying. Like it's us who maybe that time if we lost because we know about this, God prepares, but that time we found it, we are,
okay.
They who watches and keep his garment.
Okay, that's not the same group though, Elnora. My question, turn with me to Revelation 16, verse 15, because you guys are not seeing this. Turn with me to Revelation 16, verse 15. It's very important to look at the text, and you need to pay attention to the context. And I'm asking you a contextual question right now. And you guys are not giving me the context. So you need to look at the text. Okay? Revelation 16, verse 15. Jesus says, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked. And what does it say?
See his
Yeah.
shame.
In public.
And they
See his shame.
see his shame. It doesn't say, and they see their shame. It doesn't say that. It says, and they see his shame. Okay? So it's not talking about them themselves seeing their own shame. It's talking about other people will see their shame. Who is the other people? That's my question. Who is they referring to? They see his shame.
The lost.
Why do you come to that conclusion, Sharon?
Well, because the lost, they have no white raiment. So they're looking at the people that had the white raiment, but then they let it go.
If you look at the word they see his shame, contextually, who is they referring to? You look at the previous text, verse 14. Okay? For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. Okay? And then Jesus goes into, behold, I come as a thief, blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame. So if you look at this contextually, if you read this contextually, they can only mean the previous people that were mentioned before.
The demons?
The whole world. The whole world.
The whole world.
Including the demons and the kings of the earth, everyone. Okay? They see his shame. Contextually, that's what it's talking about. That's who they is referring to. Okay? Now, how do we make sense of this? Okay? What is the significance of shame? What is the significance of shame?
Naked? According to this.
Well, that the shame stems from the fact that you're naked. Okay? Yeah.
You hide shame.
What's that?
You hide, you don't want to be seen.
You hide or you don't want to be seen.
You don't want people to see you naked.
You don't want people to see you naked. Okay. Remember what we talked about white raiment. What does white raiment mean? If you're wearing white raiment, what does that mean? Revelation chapter 3, verse 3 and 4. What does it mean?
You have overcome. You
have overcome.
Your name is in the book of
Your name is remaining in the book of life.
Life.
You are worthy because you're walking with Christ. That's what it means to be wearing white raiment based on the Bible, right?
Right.
Okay, so somehow along the line, as this thing is taking place, the Battle of Armageddon is mounting. The world is polarizing into two groups. You need to find where you fit in. And there could be, and what's going to constitute shame is that if you
lose your garment.
If you don't have the garment or you don't.
If you no longer follow Jesus for some reason, due to the pressure, or you forsake your allegiance to Christ, therefore you submit to the powers that be and you submit to sin and you compromise, your name is now taken out of the book of life. And what was the other one? No longer worthy. They're not walking. Yeah, you know. So, and also, you are no longer. What was the other one? Ah, man. But those three things that we mentioned earlier, right? Oh, you did not overcome. You failed to overcome. They overcame you. You didn't overcome. All those things constitutes you being in shame. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
You are the results of those three things that you no longer have because you forsook the robe, the white raiment, constitutes your shame. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and this is what the Bible's saying, right? And so shame, Jesus says, I come as a thief. Okay, now it doesn't mean that Jesus is coming to steal your white garment. It's not like he says, I give you white garment, I take it back from you when you're not looking. That's not what Jesus is saying. He's not coming as a thief to take away the garment, but he's coming as a thief unexpectedly. Unexpectedly. Not to take your garment, but unexpectedly, if you're not wearing the white raiment and you're caught without the white raiment, you can be found naked and in shame. And what's going to happen in the Battle of Armageddon is because you're following Jesus, because of your association with him, unforeseeable circumstances will come to try to take all that is yours, and all that you wrap your identity around can be taken away in a moment. And Jesus says, to avoid being naked and in open shame, watch and keep your garments. And you know what keeping your garments mean, right? It means overcoming, making having your name remain in the book of life. You're walking and following with Jesus. You are worthy because you're following him. those constitute you wearing the white raiment. Okay. But it is interesting that what you notice about shame is clearly depicted in several places in the Bible. Do you remember? Well, there are 3 places in the Bible where they mention shame. The shame when Jesus comes as a thief, right? Luke chapter 13, verse 24 to 28. Remember, let's read that one because we have time. These are the 3 episodes of shame that you do not want to experience. Okay? These are the 3 episodes of shame that you will experience if you don't have the white raiment. So check this out. This is repeated so many times. It's as if the Bible's trying to warn us, and we cannot, ignore it. Luke chapter 13, verse 24. And we want to glean what is practical in our study so that we can be ready. Not just simple prophecy head knowledge. We want practical preparation. Okay? Luke chapter 13, verse 24 to 28. Someone read that for us, please.
Strive to enter in at the strait gate, for many, I say unto you, will seek to enter in and shall not be able. When once the master of the house is risen up and have shut to the door, and ye begin to stand without and to knock at the door, saying, Lord, Lord, open unto us. And he shall answer and say unto you, I know you not whence you are. Then shall ye begin to say, we have eaten and drunk in thy presence, and thou hast taught in our streets. But he shall say, I tell you, I know you not whence you are. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity.
So notice the words that Jesus says to these people. He says, depart from me. I don't know who you are. You are workers of iniquity. Can you imagine if Jesus says that to you? You have just been caught naked and ashamed. So are you following?
Yes.
This is the final declaration that he says, you are workers of iniquity. I don't know you. Depart from me. This is the ultimate shame. You think you know who you are, but you find out who you really are. And it's also interesting here. This whole thing that was read, is talking about knocking at the door, right? Lord, Lord, open to us. But he says, I don't know you. Wait a minute. Didn't Jesus also come to a door to Laodicea church? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yes.
Jesus came to the Laodicean church and he was knocking on the door, wasn't he? He was knocking on the door way before then. And he was saying, if anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in with him and sup with him and he with me. And in other words, Jesus was seeking out Laodicean church to have that relationship established with them. But those that ignored Jesus, those that did not open the door to Jesus, now they come knocking at his door and he says, I never knew you.
Lord have mercy.
Are you guys following?
Yes.
Yes.
It's like Jesus took the initiative to come out to us. Do we take advantage of the opportunity that he wants to connect with us, or do we reject him? And if we reject him and we try to see him at the time that we need him, he's not going to know us. That is shame. And he's going to say, you are workers of iniquity. I don't know you. You had a chance to know me when I knocked at your door some time ago, but you did not open the door to me. So now I don't know you. I wanted to get to know you. That's why I came to your door and you didn't open the door to me. And now you are workers of iniquity. You don't know me. Depart from me. Do you see this? Do you see the connection with Laodicea?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right? So when Jesus comes to your door, don't ignore him. Don't set him aside. Don't put him aside for at another time. Open the door to him. Take every chance to relate to him and take the three things he offers us, among them the white raiment. Amen.
I saw.
Now, two more episodes of shame. Matthew 7, verse 21 through 23. Matthew 7, verse 21 to 23. Okay, someone read this. Matthew 7.
Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness.
This is another very unfortunate result of shame. Right? Here are these people who think that Jesus would know them. Here are these people that are doing what? What were they doing? What were they doing?
Good work.
They were doing God's work. They were doing God's work. But Jesus calls them what?
Don't know you.
Workers of iniquity. Workers of iniquity. Even though they were doing God's work, even though they're doing God's work, they were actually workers of iniquity. And he says, depart from me. I never knew you. This is another shame. The result of not having the white raiment. Okay? And then the last episode, Matthew 25, verse 31 through 46. Matthew 25, and we'll close with this one. Matthew 25, 31 to 46. Okay.
When the Son, you want to read it?
Yes, please.
When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divided his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. And I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee and hungered and fed thee, or thirsty and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was a hungered, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in, naked, and you clothed me not, sick, and in prison, and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee a hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to the one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal.
Wow. So the third episode of shame. What is taking place here? These people are being judged for what?
For what they have done.
Or what they didn't do.
For what they didn't do. Okay.
So did something.
No, they didn't do anything. Okay. They didn't do the works that was required of them. They didn't do the works of loving acts of kindness and mercy. And that's why they are being judged. Okay. The ones that did good were the ones that were approved by Christ. This is another relation. This is very important for us to understand, because it's not about self-preservation. It's not about us being saved and then like, I got to make sure I'm saved, but you also need to have the mindset of, I'm willing to, I want to, I care about other people's salvation. I care about other people's well-being. I care about other people more than myself. That also has to be a part of your life. And if you don't have that white raiment, you are shamed. You are actually naked. If you lack this, you're actually naked. They didn't know that they were naked. They didn't know that they were that this shameful outcome would happen, because they were lacking the white raiment. Another episode of shame, and this is what ends up in shame. They will not inherit eternal life of the righteous, right? And they'll be taken away to everlasting punishment. So when we ask the question, what is at stake in the Battle of Armageddon? Jesus tells us one thing: your white raiment. Watch and make sure you keep your white raiment. Because if you don't, they will all see your shame. What does it mean that they will all see your shame? Who you thought you were is not really who you are at all.
Mm.
And you're going to find out when it's too late. And you can't do anything about it. And that is going to be the greatest shameful disappointment that everyone will see in the whole world. Who you claim to be was not really who you were at all. And everyone will see it. And that's what Jesus is saying. This is the nakedness and the shame that he warns us about. Do you guys understand?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. And so what we need to do is really understand what it means. I'm really grateful for what Jesus said to the Sardis church, because in the Sardis church, he spells it out very well. What does it mean to be wearing the white raiment? It means that you are walking and following Jesus. It means you are an overcomer. It means that your name remains in the book of life. And brothers and sisters, we really need to make sure that that is our constant aim. We need to be watching and doing all we can to keep that white raiment. Do you understand the value of the white raiment now?
Yes.
Yes. The white raiment is who we really ought to be. And like this parable that we just read, if you don't have love for people, if you don't have care for other people, you don't go out of your way to help them, and I'm speaking to myself too. I have a lot to work on as well. If you don't have this in your life, you are not wearing the white raiment. If you don't have a relationship with Jesus where you meet with him daily, you don't have that white raiment. If you live your life, not understanding what it means to do the Lord's work, but doing it wholeheartedly and fully devoted by relinquishing all sin in your life. You're doing the Lord's work, but you're still dabbling in sin. You're not wearing the white raiment. And these people, these parables, what a terrible declaration that Jesus says to all of them. I never knew you. Depart from me. That is the shame. That is the shame, and that is the nakedness that we appear. Because why? We were naked all along, just like Laodicea, but we didn't know it. And we need to ask Jesus to open our eyes and ask Jesus every day, Lord, am I wearing your raiment? Am I wearing your raiment, or am I not wearing your raiment? And what must I do to be sure I'm holding on to that raiment? And this needs to take place. This needs to take place before the Battle of Armageddon. Because when the Battle of Armageddon comes upon us, you're not going to be ready. We're not going to be ready. And so let's take heed to the words of Jesus. The words of Jesus in Revelation 16, verse 15 is very clear. It's almost haunting. It's a haunting verse because he's telling us exactly what's at stake. He's telling exactly what is on the line. He's coming as a thief, unexpectedly. And we need to watch, keep our garments, lest we walk naked and they all see our shame. They say, hey, at the very end, when Jesus makes the declaration, they'll say, hey, man, he was never one of Christ's. She was never one of Christ's. Who they really are is made in that final declaration. Jesus doesn't know them. What a terrible, shameful thing for us to experience. And that's not what I want for any of us. And that's why this study tonight is very important. It's not just about prophecy knowledge. It's about totally experiencing a change with Jesus.